what does a person need to know? What do they need to do? What changes do they need to make in their life if they care about protecting their brain and
Yeah.
preventing Alzheimer's or dementia or Parkinson's? What do I need to do?
So it's going to surprise you. I start with mindset. Get rid of two words, motivation and moderation.
Okay.
Motivation is a useless word. It's not measurable. It doesn't have metrics. It doesn't have denominator. It doesn't have a thing that you can put your hand around. Just raw 15th century language that's coming to us. We got to get rid of some of those language, or we have to get complexity to it to give it metrics that we can action and we can act upon it. The second word is moderation, which is a lazy word that people use to try to get out of doing things. As soon as you say eat plant-based, oh, everything is about moderation. They don't even know what that means. So if you have a bucket of cyanide, what is moderation? Half a bucket? If you eat meat 7 times a day, what's moderation? 4 times a day? It's no different. So throw away moderation.
I like to make this joke about moderation.
Yes.
Occasionally I will post something online, right? And someone may comment, well, everything in moderation, right?
Yes.
And my favorite response is, that's why I only smoke crack once a week.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So moderation means nothing. It's context, direction, quantity of direction, smart goals, specific, measurable. Your dopamine reward system is based on metrics, on identifiable successes. Literally, all of Tony Robbins and everybody's talk could be distilled down to how dopamine functions. Dopamine's action is expectation and direction and movement, but measurable movement that you can actually feel, be it visually or otherwise. We leave that. So we start with getting rid of those two. Instead of it, we replace it with identify good science. That's harder today than before, because now there's so much noise in social media. But think to yourself, where do most large studies, most scientists come down to? I mean, whether it's the mind study, whether it's when we've done work in all of these, a Mediterranean study, a Mediterranean diet studies. We did the largest study in California, teacher study, 133,000 women over 20 years looking at Mediterranean diet. The Mind study, the Framingham study, the Adventist Health study where we worked at, all of them. These are, they call it epidemiological studies, but even when you do prospective studies, all the studies, what's the common denominator? The common denominator is not fish. The common denominator is not wine. The common denominator is plants. Greens, beans, legumes, cruciferous vegetables, that kind of stuff. And the common denominator of negative part of it is, in fact, this is how you measure Mediterranean diet. This is surprising, because when you look at how in academic settings they measure Mediterranean diet, it's actually a plant-based diet. But they just call it Mediterranean because it's a sexy term. It's an interesting term. It's a nuanced term.
Sure.
Like as if, what is that? So Mediterranean diet, you give a high grade for plants, greens, beans, vegetables, and a source of omega-3, be it fish or otherwise, but not chicken or anything else. And you give a low grade for meats, cheeses, dairies, butter, things of that nature, and fats. So what is that diet? That's a whole food plant-based diet or plant predominant diet. So if we look
when you say the common threads, are you saying this is what's common among real people who have exceptional mental health, brain health in their elderly years? Is this what we're looking at, or?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Well, like I said, these diets have shown effect on cognition and stroke and everything else. But of course, also in cancer and diabetes and heart disease. But definitely in cognitive diseases, this is the common denominator. Plants. And avoidance of saturated fat, sugar, simple sugars, not carbs. There's no reason to demonize carbs and fiber. Those are essential. And so sugar, simple sugar, fat, saturated fat, and salt in smaller amounts. You need some salt because it's a source of iodine. It's a source, but minimal, much less than what we get in the Western world. So if you reduce those and instead of replace them with something, and that's an important concept, and add greens first, beans, legumes, cruciferous vegetables, tea for your drink and water for your drink, and herbs and spices instead of salt, you've just changed your lifestyle. But you do it in small increments, measurable increments, which is understand what you're doing as far as nutrition is concerned. What's your consumption of sugar? What's your consumption of fat? Where is it coming? What's your consumption of greens, beans, and all of those? And then add those positive things in measurable ways that you can check off. Today, I'm going to start having 2 servings of greens every day. I'm going to focus on that only. And every time I do it, at the end of the day, I check a box. That checking of the box is literally dopamine release and addicting. You're making yourself addicted to good behavior. And then every time that you don't eat saturated fat that day, check that box. Makes you addicted to positive behavior. So that's how behavior should change, measurably, or specifically, measurably, attainably, and in a time-bound way. And that's how we can change our underlying behavior, which is habits, non-thinking behavior, which is habits, which is the driver of 99% of our behaviors.
That it makes a lot of sense, especially creating that reward system for yourself where you are, again, just the simple thing of crossing an item off a to-do list or checking a box, right? It definitely makes you feel good. Thanks for watching. If you like what you just saw, why not subscribe? Here's a link to do that. And if you'd like to watch the full interview, you can find it at chrisbeatcancer.com. There's a link to it in the description right below this video.